we have a lady by the name of Sherry Hankala. Sherry Hankala is running for Sheriff of Philadelphia, and she has a platform. It's a program of fighting class demands. No foreclosures, no evictions. She will not cooperate with ICE in racist witch hunts against immigrant workers. She will try to oppose the provisions of the totalitarian Patriot Act, which Obama has now embraced, and of course the terror against foreign workers has increased under Obama. But the main thing is, don't throw American families out on the street now in the wintertime. She's running for Sheriff of Philadelphia, and I think this is a model for what should be done. The Tea Party got 75 people elected to the House and several senators. Where is this movement going? You say, oh, we have to wait to January, and then we're going to talk about our cultural movement. Joe Sixpack is out there. He needs solutions now. He needs a job. He needs health care. He needs to see a doctor. The most recent poll says 25% of the American people support Occupy Wall Street. 20% are opposed. Those are the reactionaries. That's the Tea Party. 50% don't know. Why don't they know? They don't know because there are no demands up to now. Up till Tuesday, there were no official demands. Now, thank God, we at least have one. Let's build on the Wall Street sales tax and create an actual transitional program, a program capable of creating an economic recovery and providing solutions to these life and death problems for working people. Everybody knows working people can't wait. They can't wait till January. They can't wait till springtime. They need those solutions now. They're looking for a powerful social movement that will get out there and fight for them. This stuff about the cultural reform, if you go to Joe Sixpack and say, we're proposing the reform of the human personality and a new form of utopian society that's never been seen on land or sea, you might as well go home.
Right, Mr. Waledo, again, some fair points brought up there as well. I mean, certainly people's patience will run out. And, as he mentioned, the statistics, 50% of Americans do not know at this point which side they side with. Is that not then a danger that there may be people who eventually will lose patience?
Well, sure. People lost patience with the civil rights movement. People lost patience with the women's movement, the anti-war movement. I think if you're actually here on the ground, involved to some extent with what is happening, it would be much more difficult to dismiss it out of hand. The election campaign that your other guest mentioned, the Sherry Hankala, I'm aware of that. It's a very good campaign. It's something that can be very helpful. She's a longtime fighter for people's rights, probably has a fair amount of support in her area of Philadelphia. And it raises important questions. It's another arena of struggle. This occupation movement here is not the whole progressive movement. It's not all the people in the country who are in motion or who will be in motion. It's a section. But again, what I think is most important about it is questioning the fundamentals. In 1979, in Iran, would you want to be involved in an election campaign to elect someone else to the masjid? Or would you want to be in the streets demanding the entire dismantling of the system as a whole? See, this movement here is in the very beginning stages of that second option. So electoral campaigns are good, making specific demands are good. This is not the only show in town. This is not the only movement in the United States. But your key point that is an awakening of a section that was not awake a few months ago. And now it's coming together and questioning, is capitalism the system that we want to live under for the rest of our lives? Or are we rejecting that and thinking about alternatives? That is an important awakening, and as someone who got their political awakening in the 60s, I'm telling you, it can transform you and stay with you your whole life. I don't think these people are going to leave because the weather gets cold.
Mr. Tarpley, are we then, in a sense, expecting too much from this revolutionary awakening across the United States too quickly?
I think we just have to be on the alert against obscurantism. And again, we need a program of competent demands. Without this, a movement is toothless, it's disarmed, it's impotent, it doesn't exist. I'm not dismissing anything. I'm trying to provide some programmatic content for people who deserve more from the people who have been around for various decades. They need to be able to turn to somebody to get the results of the struggles that have gone before. So it seems to me right now the big thing is there's a proposal for a general strike on November 2nd. I think that's a great idea. The program should be pretty much those 5 points that I said. The Wall Street sales tax, the stop foreclosures, the student loan amnesty, no cuts to the social safety net, no to the 12 tyrants, and nationalize the Fed. Nationalize it for 30 million new productive jobs. That is the minimum program for the American people. A big danger, a couple of days from now, we have October 30th, the Devil's Night, right? The night before Halloween. This is a typical time for anarchist provocateurs, Black Bloc, to come out and try, I think, to have some horrible incident, maybe get somebody killed. At that point, this would be an excuse for mayors all over the country to shut down the movement. So no tolerance for provocateurs on the edges of these demonstrations. Stress the program. That's where you need to escalate.
Right, so Mr. Waledo, Mr. Tarpley there has a very, organized, set-out plan in a sense, for demands. He's speaking about the November 2nd strike as being a very positive thing. What would be the hesitance in accepting those demands and putting them forth and adopting them?
Well, I think probably most people involved in this movement would be open to discussing those. And, of course, there's various levels of political consciousness. There are people who are raising demands within the movement, some of the same ones Mr. Tarpley has mentioned. And there are others who are so new that they come with every illusion about the system, thinking the police are their friends and so on, and they're going to have a legal occupation and it's all going to be very peaceful and there are going to be no problems. So those illusions will be challenged. But I sense a hesitation and a frustration. But I didn't really want to have a debate with your other guests, but I'm going to have to say something because one thing that Mr. Tarpley has said is extremely dangerous, and I'm going to dissociate myself from it and ask that people think about the implications of it. When you analyze this movement and you isolate one section and you say that this one section is not legitimate, whether they're called Black Bloc or anarchists or nihilists or whatever label you want to apply or they apply to themselves, you open that section of the movement up to police repression. And even worse, someone could come in who is a police provocateur and dress like an anarchist and wear the costumes that they wear and do something provocative and allowing the police to come in. When you're building a people's movement, at the very least, we have to draw the line and say, we give no one over to the enemy. We surrender nobody in this movement to the police. We don't isolate anyone. So long as they're working for the same general goals that we are, whether they believe in a society with no government or a society with a government, to take some of the protesters who may be misguided, and I don't support anarchism as a philosophy, but whenever they're in trouble here in our city, they know they can call me, and I'll be down there in a heartbeat to help stand up against the police with them, and sometimes that's helpful. So I really disagree with this approach of isolating certain sections and saying they're not part of our movement. Mr. Tarpley is not handing out membership cards to the progressive struggle in the United States. That's not up to him to do. We have to defend each other against the common enemy, and that's how we'll establish the trust in which we can talk with some of these folks who may be misdirected, but who are at least willing to be out here in the streets and put their bodies on the line. I'm very sorry that he raised that point.
Mr. Tarpley, I'd like to give you a chance to respond. We just have a minute left, so I'd just like to give the last word to you.
Sure. Well, but the problem is, what if police agents in anarchist garb are infiltrated? Are you going to say, welcome, police agents, come on in, have a good time, or are you going to kick them out? I think it's pretty clear. If you're serious about having a mass movement, you can't let provocateurs come in and wreck it from the inside. And above all, that really goes for a lot of the people who are pretending to lead this movement, who are actually foundation-funded operatives who are more interested in wrecking it. So again, I think the idea of the general strike is a fine idea. You want to have it open to all. You don't want to harass people who can't take part because they need to work, but put out the demands. In other words, the escalation should be strategic and programmatic. The tactical escalation gets you nowhere. And watch out for people who really are not part of this movement, right? It takes more to be part of it than just saying that you are. But program above all.
All right, we'll have to leave it there for now, gentlemen. That was Mr. Webster Griffin Tarpley, author of Surviving the Cataclysm. We were also joined on the line from Richmond, Virginia, by Phil Waledo, who is the editor of Virginia Defender and is also an author and anti-war activist. Gentlemen, we do appreciate both of your insights here at Press TV. Press TV back in about 3 minutes' time with the world news in full. Stay with us throughout the day for the latest on the American Awakening.